The way we think about a brand in the two companies that we lead is really, there's a few basics we would include in a brand, and that's going to be a distinctive, simple logo, something that can be, it's a vector-based image. We say a lot of times it can be put on swag or shirts or mugs. So there is some representation of a logo. And then a website, of course, is part of a brand. That's where all these assets are going to sit. It's going to start to tell your story. It's, coded with the same colors that your brand is coded in. We would typically say have an expert create your website and your logo. Those are part of your brand. But there are other things that we want that are really part of the brand too, and that is leading your company with a purpose, some kind of purpose statement or a mission statement. We would say a purpose page is going to be part of a brand. We have a purpose page, and we think that's really important. It states a lot of things to a market that you're trying to communicate to, your purpose. So that should be on there. And then we want to see core values. Now, core values for us are internal, but they're part of our brand. Our brand leads very strongly with a team. So a team embraces our core values to build a strong culture to represent our brand externally. So it's like we go inside the firm with our core values, we all operate together on the same page, and then we go market facing with some assets and logos and websites and social media postings to the market, and we do that consistently because our brand guides us through that process. So those are some basics of a brand, and how might you use those, or why do you really need those? What do they do? And I think what they can do is provide consistency and repetition, and high value brands that are consistent, that is, they always serve in the same way, that clients perceive or they experience and feel that brand in the same way. This consistency is what really drives a lot of the value. So you have all these assets together, then you start to really push them out into the world. That is, you have all of your team's LinkedIn pages have similar pictures or similar banners. You start to get real consistent about how your brand is displayed in a lot of different social media outlets, the email footers. These are the places where, so if you change the footer on one email for a team, you want to change all of them. And those are just some really intricate details to a brand, but it starts to always push consistency. And now clients are getting different emails, for example, from different teams, and they're always experiencing the same kind of presentation of the brand. And basically what it says is they've got their stuff buttoned up. They figured this out. They're kind of rock solid. They have a foundation. There's a bedrock that they're standing on. So that's what a lot of the usage of these brand assets do when it creates a consistency and repetition to how you use those. Branding is funny for technical professional services. So as technical professionals, and that could be, there's a lot of technical professionals. There's creative design technical professionals, CPAs, whatever it may be. We're all good at some craft. It's a specific craft. A lot of times we've gone to school for, or if there's state licensing that's given us a right to perform that for the public good, those kind of things make us think that, hey, we're good at taxes, we've got a license, so it's got CPA behind my name or whatever, so that's good enough. But that's not true. That's just a service you perform. And though your technical services are good and strong, and that's how you make your money, your brand has to tell the world. So the reason you want to invest in branding is that it differentiates you into a market. That's a key to branding. Tim Williams, the positioning professional, he says a lot of times that you're not looking to be better, you're looking to be different. And why is it? It doesn't really make sense, especially to technical people, because we're like, no, sometimes we are better than our competitors, but you can't give a better communication to a market. They don't perceive better because they can't judge that. Differentiation is what really sets you apart. And when you're set apart, then the value of your brand can stand on its own. So the first point and why you want to invest in branding is to be different. Another part of why you want to invest is, I've already mentioned it, which is value. You want to perceive a different value. So part of branding is value, and this is more of an intrinsic view you have of yourself, or an aspirational place that you want to be as a firm. Like you want to say we're high value. So this is why you need branding. Branding is going to take you into a market and state that value that you are. So it's really key that you know your value. And do you want to work with a lot of smaller companies and just do a lot of high volume? That's fine. That's a certain kind of value. Or do you want to serve fewer clients, and that lets you work with higher prices, less volume, more money? But it's really important to know that whatever value you're stating, whatever aspirational value you're stating, you want to make sure you have the expertise to back it up, right? So you don't move into markets you don't know much about, but you can take a risk, right? Branding is about risk taking too. You can move into a market aspirationally that you know you have the ability to figure out. Just be careful, because you've got to back up whatever your promises of value are that you make in your branding to the market. Positioning is part of branding too. And I was talking about value. That's intrinsically wanting to be a certain thing. Positioning is the intentional place you want to go into a market to serve. And I'll give an example. In our firm, we serve digital agencies. They happen to be larger digital agencies, so they're more complicated. The owners need a lot of guidance, so we tend to lean into serving the owners, the executives, the CEO. These people were creative people and still are, but now they've had to abandon a lot of that technical creative service because they're running a company. So we want to stand very decisively into a high-value market, and when you take a position in a high-value market, you have to do it on purpose. So your language on your website and your branding has to say on purpose, we are high value, watch out, you may not be able to afford us. Your language has to represent the fact that we are only for certain people. Make sure you come to us with this. So you're going to find high value brands have a lot of what we call barriers to entry to position very strongly, which is the walls around the castle of our firm to get in are very high. And so you're going to need to knock on the door and go jump through a lot of hoops to get into our firm. Or it could be that if we want to position low value, which is fine, right? Because it's easier to bring those clients in and it's high volume. You might not have any walls to your castle. It's just a tent. It's just a campsite. And people can wander in. And there's risk to that too, but you can bring more high volume in that way. So positioning is your stance, right? It is, here's the stance of my value into the market. You have to say it. You have to state it on your website, and then you have to back it up by not letting low-value clients in. They can't get over the barriers, so to speak. You got to only let those high-value clients in. And pricing is a big part of that value and positioning. It's just the economic reality of what you've been saying. So if you say to a market, we're high value, and we take a position in a high-value part of the market, you have to pay a higher price.